If you watch what's happening in Ukraine, which is the frontline state in this case, it will inform a lot about possible future actions of malign states in your domain, and also about possible countermeasures. So first I want to say, when we watch what Putin is doing in the region, it's clearly his intention is to undermine the Western model of governance. Because what Ukraine is trying to do in its now reforms and transition is to set up exactly that system of governance, how we run business, government, relations between citizens and the state. Secondly, it's very important to remember that this is an asymmetric conflict, where it's the Putin that is trying to attack and destroy the West. It's not the West that is trying to undermine and destroy Russia. And what Putin does, ironically, is he uses the very essence of what Western liberal order stands on, which is liberty, freedom, lack of censorship, to use those tools against us. I think the very healthy way to react to this is to see where are our vulnerabilities. We are doing this in Ukraine with a project called Resilient Ukraine, where we are looking where Ukraine is vulnerable to Russia's interference and where it can strengthen its capacity. One of it is response to disinformation. And one comment, I don't like when we use the word propaganda. I think what is new right now, propaganda has been used throughout ages, is disinformation. It's basically lies. It's something that we considered indecent in the West until Trump was elected, to use lies to this extent in the West to basically doctor and manipulate public opinion.
And Orysia, can you just explain to us a little bit, in the Ukraine conflict?
Putin is a business. I mean, he has 200 billion, it's estimated, offshore. 50% of all Russian household incomes are offshore. And that's where they mix with the alt-right, that's where they mix with hedge funds in the dark, shadowy waters of Kitts and Nevis, and their interests come together. So you can't really see Putin as a state. And likewise, you can see Facebook as a nation. And the thing is, it is a dark, unaccountable black hole at the moment. We don't know how much Facebook influenced the Brexit elections. We do know about America because they enforce.
What the Silicon Valley companies want, as Benedict just said, is a really, really, really specific list. Partly because then that's clear and simple and they can go off and do it. Then they can also blame the government if it goes wrong, and then they can work to get around it. What the government has chosen, in this country at least, has chosen to do is introduce basically some kind of vague duty of responsibility, a duty of care it's called, that, and this is really crucial, that falls somewhere short of turning them into publishers, because they are, no matter what anyone says, they are not publishers. It is completely different. Making them into publishers would eradicate all the good things about social media, and there are good things.
Clearly Facebook, etc. are not publishers. Yeah. They're platforms that people use to publish, and they've got a funding model which is, selling people's data, which, so people don't buy the product. People who present arguments for a political party or a political cause without disclosing their identity. Well, in old media terms, that's an offence. First thing any political agent is taught is you have to publish your name on any leaflet. So, I mean, the question really, I think you've sort of got towards, you've been discussing it really, is how far is it possible for criminal law enforcement to actually deal with these things?
I mean, Facebook, to be honest, have done a lot of, they've tightened the rules on advertising quite a lot in the last year, where we really struggled to get most of our ads out. Companies that used to be fine to advertise on Facebook, we're getting disapproved all the time. And it's an endless battle.
Who disapproves?
So Facebook itself. So,
and who is that, Facebook?
So it will be, I'm guessing, more machine learning. For instance, like recently we wanted to set up a campaign for a money transfer service from South Americans in London. And Facebook picked up that we're trying to target a minority and an ethnic group in London, and disapproved. The whole campaign got disapproved. And it's an endless battle, really, to get this overturned. And barely ever do you actually get an ad approved when it's been disapproved.
So Facebook has made a big, in the last year, I think, Mark Zuckerberg's been talking about a big pivot towards groups. And there are two reasons normally cited. One is that it turns out that people like closed communications, and WhatsApp's often cited as the inspiration here, and that actually that we don't really like, and we assume that Facebook is great because they have the data, but we don't really like these broadcast channels and so it's in the same way, and that engagement is higher on groups, so that's why Facebook likes it. And then also is that there is this strong suspicion that by putting things in private channels, it removes a lot of the questions that Facebook is constantly faced with, which it isn't like, about regulating speech on social media. So what this looks like in practice is that a lot of these groups are closed, so you have to basically kind of ask for membership to them. It's normally relatively easy to kind of get membership if you're willing to say to lie on like a quiz question or something like that. But they are but even that small barrier means that they're much harder to see in the sort of the open air. And the regulation around it is also kind of slightly different because, you know, they sort of look like private groups, and it feels very wrong to be policing private groups. So as a result, I mean, the fake news and the lies and misinformation and propaganda spreading them is sometimes pretty horrific.